On April 8th of 2025, Noobcraft Season 2 officially started. The people on the server are Ben, the Noob King, who is the owner of the server, Blurpy slash Benny, I'll probably use those interchangeably, who is also named Blurpy Was Taken, Jacob, who is Splatterman, 35, Jackson, who is me, which is clowns around, Stuart, who is Little Wire, and CJ, who is MaxCat0118. It started off in a snowy high mountain forest biome. Stuart was also not here for the opening. We started about 4 days before he was able to join because we were all impatient. Anyways, everyone spread out. Uh, Me and Jacob went together. Benny and Ben went together. Benny and Ben stayed around spawn, kind of traveling a little bit, but also mostly mining for materials, getting trees, wood, all that kind of stuff. Me and Jake went out to a really far village in like a separate snowy biome a couple hundred blocks from spawn, and I decided to form the EOC, which is the Empire of Overworld Command. And my goal was to get an organization that would watch over every overworld nether portal use and also track players in the server. That sounds really sketchy now that I read that out loud. Then later, Ben and Benny found a giant area made up of mountains and made it into Benny and Ben's base by carving like a giant hole into one of the mountains. And that was his base. Me and Jacob went up to a snowy village in like a snowy biome somewhere, and this would be the second base founded on the server. This didn't really last long though, as I separated from Jacob and went like a couple thousand blocks from spawn. I went over like I think 5,000, and it was into a desert biome, and this is where I would form the EOC. This is where it would be at. Anyways, Jacob stayed at the village for a little bit, just trying to get like iron and stuff, but every villager died because of the powdered snow on the hill. So, except for one, which is still in the fence to this day, they're all dead. Ben and Benny also carved out the mountain fully and then set up the base together with all the supplies they had gotten previously. Before Jacob arrived, he got lots of like OP loot from like sunken pirate ships and I think a dungeon or two maybe. I'm not fully sure. I think he was like a seed map to find this. Anyways, he arrived at my base, the coordinates, and he misclicked when setting his respawn point. So when he went into a mine shaft and died to a skeleton, he was all the way back at spawn, which really sucks for him. Luckily, I took all the stuff that I could get from him, as bundles weren't. I don't think bundles were in this version yet, and we didn't have any shulkers because this was the first day. He said that he would not walk that far back and that he was a little bit pissed off, honestly. He was mad that he died and lost everything that far away, so it makes sense, but still, yeah. I ended up leaving the desert area because I didn't like it that much, and also it was so far away. Also, the desert was inspired by the bunker in Stranger Things. That's why I just wanted to put it up in a desert to make it like a bunker. Oh, and also Stuart finally got online. He was a bit annoyed that we started without him, but he finally got online. Then I later asked Benny if I could put the EOC under his base, and he said sure. So I traveled 5,000 blocks back and over to his base. Jacob found a village right next to his base, Benny's base. So he set up his base there, and he got like farms and stuff, like a villager breeder, villager farm, iron farm. Although he didn't last for long, but we'll get to that later. And then later, Benny broke up Locke and his villager breeder, which caused all the villagers to escape because he hadn't put them into the farm yet. So that sucked for Jacob. When Jacob like logged on later and saw this, he was pissed. He declared war on the EOC, who at the time, by the way, consisted of Ben, Benny, Stuart, and me. Uh, I also made an oath called the Oath to EOC, or the Oath to EOC, as Benny likes to say. But I then later sent Jacob a peace offering, or peace declaration, which took about a day for him to decide if he wanted to go to war or not. Luckily, Jacob said he would declare peace. Although before he declared it, we thought he was the evilest person on the server because he declared war on us. So we dug a tunnel under the EOC, which led over to his base, which it's a very long tunnel, and we didn't have any potions, so we just had to run the whole time and keep eating. to restore our hunger. Anyways, a few days later, after this peace treaty was like declared and stuff, the EOC was disbanded. Benny's base was sort of in a state of limbo because what would he make it? So a few days later, I found territory and settled on some flat land near some ocean. I also set up some like manual carrot, wheat, sugarcane, and bamboo farms. Prominently, the wheat one, I still work on that today. I have a whole double chest full of bread. I also set up a farmhouse and stables, and yeah, still there. Meanwhile, Benny decided to make his base the Bops and Baps Inn, naming it after his two cats that he has. This also stays as his main base to this day, which yeah, he still uses. Jacob once again moved bases after what Benny did and moved over to a third village, another village. He moved over to a third one, which is a bit farther away from Benny, but still close to him. But yeah, that happened. And then he set up some automatic farms like a bamboo farm, tree farm, villager breeder, and an actual villager farm this time, unlike the other one. He also set up some nether wart too, because at that point we had gotten into the nether and started like making paths to each other's base and stuff. Ben didn't really do much, honestly. He was mainly playing on the server that we were doing before this, which is not the first Noobcraft. That was years ago. But he was doing another server that him and Jacob and Benny did it. I think Stuart too at first. Basically everyone but me, I think. Uh, anyways, he just kind of when he did join, sat around or like mined materials, helped Benny with like carving out and building stuff, mostly getting materials the whole time. Also, at this point, Stuart barely ever joined and has almost never joined since, but has a few times. He did before he left set up a little house next to Jacob's base, but then we got the message that he would probably not play Minecraft for another couple months, and yeah, that still is going on, even though he has a computer. Anyways, Ben made an arena near Jacob's base, which looks pretty cool, I guess, but it's very high for some reason and not in an oval shape. So, we actually did have some fights in it, but in the end, it never got finished. Anyways, back at Benny's base, he dug out like a second floor underneath the main area of the inn. He also made bed and living rooms and filled up only two of the rooms. He also made this with like spruce and oak and all that stuff. He even made a workable up and down elevator that goes from the first floor down to the second floor. As he says, he will never do another one. It was a pain in the ass to build. Those are his words. He later ended up filling it with like chests and barrels and for potions and just random stuff. Mostly just a lot of the junk and extra resources he had, but I recently helped him clear all that out and we're gonna do more stuff. I'll bring that up later. Anyways, Jacob was still at his base doing villager production. Ben wasn't really on that much, but he started to get in a little bit more now, mostly helping out me and Benny. He was helping out me and Benny. Anyways, I invented a religion. I called it Triskalism, which is named after the word Triskele, which stands for like three arms or something like that. But because it said three, the thing, I thought, hey, that'd be cool if we did the Wither. So I made the religion based after the Wither, and the fact that it may come back one day to grant us everything we've ever wanted, basically. Even though the Wither in game just destroys everything. Whatever, I guess. Anyways, I built a church for this, made it out of warped, and, no, crimson logs and a ton of cobblestone. And then, I'll get to some other stuff about it later. Then, the next day, everyone met up at Jacob's base, gathered supplies from his villagers, mostly potions, armor, weapons, and beds. I actually made some swiftness potions beforehand, because I built a, witch's hut at my base, so I built all of that, and, got a few potions. I still have them to this day. I made over 5 or 6 barrels of swiftness potions. I have not used almost 4 of them since. We then spent the next 20 minutes traveling over to the stronghold, and after spending about 10 minutes looking for it in the stronghold, looking for the end portal, we found out that it was behind a stone wall, and there was no way to get to it, so how are we supposed to know? So then Ben went into Spectator and just looked for it, and then he found it. So we mined out over there, and then all of us lit up, we lit up the portal, and finally we jumped into the end. Immediately, it was chaos. Our stuff was in a chest and it kept breaking every time someone died, and came back through the portal. So I probably spent like almost 5 minutes of that fight putting everything back in the chest so it wouldn't despawn. That chest is actually still there to this day, too, because we just never took anything out of it. There is just mostly junk in there. Anyways, Stuart was also here, too. Forgot to mention that. Finally, after fighting for about 10 or so minutes, Benny delivered the last shot to the dragon, or the end dragon. I grabbed the egg and then gave it to Benny because he was the one who did the last shot and who we decided should have the egg. To this day, he still has it, actually. After the end fight, plans were made to have a structure built as spawn to house the egg, but this never really happened, honestly. But then plans for it did happen again, but that's like way later. I'm not getting into that right now. Anyways, not much happened after that for a while. Some stuff was built, like the marketplace next to Benny's base, that almost never ended up being used. Uh, and then Stuart said this is his last day playing Minecraft, as I mentioned earlier. He has only joined a few times since. Anyways, I formed the Red Empire. After the EOC had fallen and was no longer a thing, I formed the Red Empire. This is based off the communist Russian during the time, the Soviet Union. It's based off them. Anyways, it's also a monarchy, so not dictatorship, mostly a monarchy, with me leading it, and then I also had Ben come and help, mostly with just the military stuff and a few other things. So he's technically like an army general for Red Empire. The army is also named the Red Guard, which, if you know anything about Chinese history, you'll recognize that. I also then spent the next 3 days building it, and that was long because I had to make a stone farm, and I probably went through about 2.5 diamond silk touch pickaxes with efficiency 3 and silk touch to get all the stone. And I built a dungeon under the Red Empire, which is still there. The Red Empire castle was also finished during this time. I think I finished it after the dungeon was done. Anyways, that was kind of it for a while. There wasn't really much player activity, not really anything. I also decided to move over to an island near the Red Empire and my main base, which was going to originally be a Red Empire village for people in the Empire because it was an empire. That didn't really happen. I didn't stick to plan on that because Ben was there too. He joined me and made a funny little joke called the Island of Fools, which then, because fools and also me being a clown, I thought, hey, what if we just make a giant ass circus tent? So that's exactly what we did. I finally got all the materials done, constructed with Ben in Another World the tent, and then used Lightmatica to build it in survival with all the materials, which was pretty expensive, honestly. It was a lot. Anyways, there's a video of me building that on my channel if you haven't seen that. Anyways, we all after doing that, it also had games, by the way. After doing that, we had all decided or I decided actually, to build an arena, or remaster the original one. I ended up doing that, but not what I expected. I was going to replace the original one, and which did not happen, honestly. That didn't happen because all of them had voted to actually keep the original one for nostalgia and build a new one somewhere else. So I built it right into the side of a mountain. Uh, yeah, it's near Jacob's base. He had moved bases, by the way. For the fourth time, he's at a fourth village, and it's his current base to this day. Um, yeah, it's actually really nice because he has a lot of villagers and stuff there. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. The arena was finished a few days later, and plans were once again beginning to build a structure around spawn to house the dragon egg. This was planned, we built it in another world, and then imported it with Lightmatica, and everything in that was made, but then we didn't do anything else after that. We kind of just sat there doing really nothing with it because, well, I lost motivation to do it. Benny just barely ever did anything for it, so we just kind of gave up. We'll probably do it later though, like in the future. Anyways, I helped Benny clear up storage one day, at the inn. Mostly the second floor that had all the potions and junk down there. Everything is in amount now. Jeez. Everything is now moved upstairs in chest and barrels, and everything outside that was a mess too is now moved inside also. Anyways, we made a third floor underneath the current one, which we called the suite rooms, which was way more bigger than the ones upstairs, and it was also nice. Oh, I forgot to mention my house burnt down like 2 months ago prior to this. I rebuilt it, but it it burnt down. Ben finally decided to make himself his own house and base, and he constructed it right next to Benny's base. It was a house dug into a mountain, one of the mountains in the same mountain range that he's at. And Jacob also constructed a lot of farms, but there's also so many of them, but I'm not going to get into it. But Jacob, as I mentioned earlier, decided to move bases, so this was like to his village. Anyways, also a person named CJ, who is my friend, joined the server. He built a base on top of a mountain at Benny's base, which Benny wasn't too happy about at first. He was a bit annoyed when he saw it because he said it was ruining the view, but besides that, he got used to it though. Oh, I also decided to, with Ben, remake the Tower of Babel for literally no reason. I just felt like doing it. Anyways, that marks where we are today. Sorry if this was a bit of a short video. I just wanted to info dump about our fun little Minecraft server that we've been doing since April. But okay, thanks for watching. Bye.